Coming up in today's newscast, Defense Minister Lieberman makes his resignation official. The United States Congress issues its formal response to the Antisemitic Pittsburgh synagogue massacre, and the Knesset finally advances legislation that would eventually ban live animal transports. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman officially tendered his resignation this morning after announcing his intense disagreement with the current ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The decision to calm tensions came after 25 hours of intense back and forths with the Gaza Strip, in which nearly 500 rockets fell on Israeli communities, killing one civilian and injuring at least 50 others. Israeli jets in turn targeted at least 150 military and Hamas structures in Gaza, but Lieberman called the ceasefire a capitulation to terrorism and explained that he couldn't go along with the decision and still be able to look southern Israelis in the eye. So Lieberman is scheduled now to hold his last defense ministry meeting later today, before his position officially expires within 48 hours. Likewise, he'll also be taking his Yisrael Beitenu party with him out of the coalition, leaving Netanyahu's government with a shaky 61 to 59 seat majority. Now, as expected, reactions to Lieberman's announcement within Israel have been mixed.
The situation here in the south is kind of not okay for the past 8 months. We feel like people have forgotten us, as if we're not as important as the rest of the country. And Lieberman resigning from his duty is understandable. I can understand where he's coming from. I think he's doing the right thing.
אני חושבת שההתפטרות לא תביא לשום פתרון. עשייה אפשר לעשות בתוך הממשלה, ורצוי לעשות אותה בתוך הממשלה. אני מאמינה שיש שיקולים שגרמו לקבינט לעשות את ההחלטות כפי שנעשו. אני סומכת על הקברניטים שלנו שיודעים את התשובות.
Though in the Palestinian Authority and within Gaza, the resignation is widely seen as a victory, especially as it comes just a day after Hamas called for Lieberman to be fired anyway.
سقط بانتصار مقاومتنا ووحدتنا في الشعب الفلسطيني.
لم نتفاجأ من قرار ليبرمان بالاستقالة لأنه واضح كان على خلافات مع نتنياهو حول الوضع في قطاع غزة، والقرارات الأخيرة كانت تشير إلى ذلك. بالتأكيد هو أيضا يريد أن يركب الموجة في إسرائيل بانتقاد السياسات التي يقوم بها نتنياهو، وبالتالي هو يطمح لمنصب أعلى من وزارة الدفاع في الانتخابات القادمة.
Still, the major question that now remains is who will replace Lieberman. Many coalition leaders have been clamoring for the position, which is largely considered to be a stepping stone to the Prime Minister's office, though the frontrunner thus far appears to be Education Minister and Jewish Home Party Chairman Naftali Bennett, who has a long history both in upper echelons of the Israeli military as well as politics. And now, with the coalition's majority in crisis, he's given Netanyahu a deadline: either give him the defense ministership or face early elections. Time will tell what Netanyahu decides. Returning now for a deeper analysis on the state of the country following Defense Minister Lieberman's resignation is Dr. Martin Sherman, the founder and executive director of the Israel Institute for Strategic Studies. Dr. Sherman, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, so, there have been some critics who are saying Lieberman wasn't that effective anyway, it's not that big of a deal, and this is purely political. How would you react to that?
Well, it's pretty true that Lieberman hasn't been very effective, and apparently he's been blocked by both Netanyahu and the military, who seem to be very loath to engage in some sort of decisive military action. And this is disturbing because, it's very difficult to see where the government sees this going unless they believe, for some unknown and unspecified reason, that the Palestinians in Gaza are going to morph into something that they haven't been for over 100 years, and show little signs of morphing into in the foreseeable future. So it's very difficult to know what the plan is.
All right, well, so let's stay on replacement possibilities. As I said earlier, Education Minister Naftali Bennett, who has a long history in the Israeli military and political weight to sway, would he make a good replacement?
Look, there's certainly far worse possibilities than Bennett, but as we've seen, the defense minister can be hamstrung. I'm not sure that the problem is of personalities. I think it's far more conceptual. Israel needs a strategy to end the violence in Gaza. You know, I've said this before. I think that without a massive invasion, retaking Gaza, and engaging in a large-scale project of incentivized immigration of the non-belligerent population, they will never be quiet. Why should they? You know, Israeli prime ministers have led the country astray time and time again over Gaza. I'll just give you two short quotes. It was Yitzhak Rabin in September 1995 who said, "The nightmare stories of the Likud are well known. After all, they promised Katyusha rockets from Gaza as well. For a year, Gaza has largely been under the rule of Palestinian Authority. There has not been a single Katyusha rocket, nor will there be any such rockets." And Arik Sharon said 9 years later, "I am firmly convinced and truly believe that this disengagement will be appreciated by those near and far, reduce animosity, break through boycotts and sieges, and advance us along the path of peace with the Palestinians." And we saw how splendidly that worked out. So, you know, and unfortunately, I think there's large scope for skepticism.
So then are elections then maybe the right way to go? Because that's where a lot of people are saying we should take this to radically shift the coalition and the leaders.
Yes, I think elections are more or less inevitable now, because even if Bennett is given the portfolio, the defense portfolio, there'll only be a majority of one, which is a very shaky coalition. But the problem is not...
But I mean, Kachlon and Deri are also calling for elections. This is something that I think, and the Likud is polling very strongly.
You know, I would like to know what Kachlon and Deri suggest for Gaza. And if they're re-elected, and if Netanyahu's re-elected, and Bennett's re-elected, and Lieberman's re-elected, what are they going to do? You know, they need a fresh perspective on it, because what we're doing, we're just spinning our wheels. And we see now the disaffection of the residents in the south. You know, they're living a very onerous life. Their livelihoods being undermined. Their children are being endangered. You know, how long can you expect them to stay there? And I've warned before, in the long run, there will either be Arabs in Gaza or Jews in the Negev. And I think the recent events have shown the veracity of that assessment.
Sure. All right, Dr. Sherman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, as previously reported, the sole civilian fatality in 2 days of rockets fired from Gaza was Mahmoud Abu Asabeh, a 48-year-old contractor who spent much of his time in Israel. And he was originally from a small town near Hebron, where his family and his friends gathered yesterday to lay him to rest. Family members and locals from his town of Khalkhul brought Abu Asabeh's body to the Nabi Yunis Mosque, where they performed traditional prayers and then buried Abu Asabeh in a nearby cemetery beside his grandfather. Traditional keffiyeh, or Middle Eastern scarves, were also laid on his remains. Nihal Abu Asabeh, Mahmoud's mother, immediately broke down into tears and fell to the ground when she saw her son's body before her. But surprisingly, there were no senior Fatah or Palestinian Authority officials that attended the burial service. In contrast, a month ago, at a funeral for a Palestinian who was allegedly killed by settlers in the West Bank, many high-level Fatah and PA officials were present to represent their faction's support. But Abu Asabeh worked in Israel for the past 15 years, entering the country from Khalkhul to work on Sunday and returning home to the West Bank every Friday. So it seems the Palestinian faction simply couldn't or didn't want to support the Asabeh family, as they do for terrorists and other Palestinians killed in the conflict. Israel's Jewish Agency, on the other hand, is planning to send support to Abu Asabeh's family from its Fund for the Victims of Terror. Mahmoud left behind a wife, 2 daughters, and 3 sons. In related news, rocket alert apps save lives in Israel, especially in high-risk areas, but a new report shows that aside from offering necessary warnings for some, they apparently simultaneously spread anxiety for others. The Red Alert app, for example, provides real-time notifications when missiles or rockets are fired into Israel, and this has become an invaluable tool that both saves lives and allows Israelis nationwide to show solidarity with the residents who are under attack. But for those who live in the high-risk areas already, many claim the app is a source of their anxiety, sometimes more so than the rockets. Earlier this week, as Hamas and other terror groups fired hundreds of rockets into southern Israeli cities and towns, a reporter asked on Facebook if the Red Alert app made users anxious, and Israelis were quick to agree that it did. One commenter, Izzy Berkson, wrote, quote, "I had to turn it off. It was stressing me out a lot more than it should have," end quote. And many more users also said that it was nerve-wracking. Still, despite their anxiety-causing side effects, most still see such apps as more necessary than not. Israeli resident from Beit Shemesh, Chana Shields Rosenfelder, said, quote, "I use it so that each time there's a siren anywhere, I can pray for the people there to have strength and be safe," end quote. And Daniel Tal-Or, who lives in the settlement of Efrat, said that his wife is hearing impaired and that there was problems with sirens not reaching everyone in town. So he said, quote, "In situations like this, it's very important that you have backup." Now, even though Jews make up only 2% of the population in the United States, anti-Semitic attacks accounted for 58% of all religion-based hate crimes in 2017. And as if that wasn't enough, the FBI says that hate crimes against Jews in the United States rose by 37% since last year alone. Just last week, nearly an entire class of middle school-aged boys, save for one teen, performed a Nazi salute in their junior prom photo. A statement posted to social media by Jordan Blue, the only kid who did not salute in the photo, said, quote, "I truly and firmly believe we need to make a change to this horrible act. It needs to stop. The bullying, immaturity, and just taking things as a joke," end quote. Local Wisconsin authorities are currently investigating the incident. But then in another photographic faux pas, stock photo company Shutterstock came under fire this week after it was brought to their attention that a series of their published shots were anti-Semitic. Though it's hard to understand how the shots slipped through the cracks, as they depict a very apparent Jewish man in a yarmulke holding wads of cash. The photos have since been removed. As we know, however, unfortunately, anti-Semitism doesn't stop in the United States either. A British couple with neo-Nazi views have now been convicted of membership in an outlawed group after naming their son Hitler. During their trial, pictures of the parents holding their baby while wearing white robes of the KKK and holding a flag with a swastika was shown. And all this just after the shooting in a synagogue in Pittsburgh during Saturday morning prayer services left 11 worshipers dead. In response to the rising trend, security is continuing to be heightened near Jewish areas in Europe as well as in America, from Brooklyn to Las Vegas to the University of Massachusetts, where neo-Nazi stickers were found on campus just last Wednesday. Moving on, but on a similar note, it's been a few weeks now since the Pittsburgh Tree of Life synagogue attack, where 11 Jewish worshipers were brutally murdered on October 27th. And yesterday, the United States House of Representatives unanimously passed a bipartisan condemnation of the assault. The text of the resolution reads in part that the government will, quote, "carry the memory of those lost in the Tree of Life synagogue building attack, the deadliest anti-Semitic incident in U.S. history, and will work to ensure that all Americans are free to worship in peace and security," end quote. But that's not all. It goes on to condemn the rising anti-Semitism in the states and globally, and reiterates American support for First Amendment rights such as speech and religious practice. The resolution was originally put forth last week by Pennsylvania Democratic Representative Mike Doyle and the co-chairs of the House of Representatives' Bipartisan Task Force for Combating Anti-Semitism. But while the motion received unanimous support on the floor, it seems that fears of newly rising anti-Semitic attitudes in Congress following the midterm elections are still somewhat founded. Democrat Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, who is the first Palestinian American elected to Congress, is a known supporter of the anti-Semitic BDS movement, among other similar ideologies, having also stated support for a one-state solution in the past. She is now taking criticisms for wrapping herself in a Palestinian flag during her victory party as well. Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York has also been under heavy scrutiny for ignorant comments that she made regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict on the campaign trail. Then finally, Democrat Ilhan Omar of Minneapolis, the first Muslim woman elected to Congress to wear a hijab, has also now changed her tune with respect to BDS. During her campaign, Omar said that the boycott stops dialogue and is counteractive to achieving a two-state solution. But on Sunday, her office reported that at the same time, she still supports and has always supported BDS. Omar's office hasn't yet made any further comment, but if true, she would be the first congressperson to openly back the anti-Israel and anti-Semitic boycott. Now back to Europe. In a beautiful show of gratitude, Jewish cab owners in London are reportedly donating taxis to Holocaust rescuers in Poland. And just as it sounds, the initiative is specifically meant to help chauffeur elderly Polish people who risked their lives during World War II to save Jews. Taxis in Poland can be very expensive to the elderly living on monthly state-issued pensions, and often of no more than just $100. And as far as Holocaust rescuers go, just in Warsaw, dozens are recognized as righteous among the nations by Israel, meaning that they helped Jews escape the Nazi extermination program. That's why 3 Jewish taxi operators, Farley Friedman, Asher Moses, and Howard Kott, are providing 2 of their city's black cabs to make the project happen. Originally, Poland-based Holocaust commemoration organization From the Depths offered to buy the cabs, but Friedman, Moses, and Kott decided to donate them instead. Friedman explained the initiative saying, quote, "These people were so good for us, and so this is us trying to be good for them. A lot of them are elderly now and struggle to get around, so we hope this helps," end quote. And the initiative is green, too. The cabs in question are coming to the end of their life in London, but they're still perfectly good for use elsewhere, like in Poland. The cabs feature rear-opening back doors and have spacious interiors. Further, Edward Mosberg, a 92-year-old Holocaust survivor living in New Jersey, among other Jewish groups, helped fund the project. Mosberg said that it is, quote, imperative for us to do all we can to be of assistance and help the living righteous. These people are true heroes, end quote. The Jerusalem runoff elections are now finally complete, and Moshe Leon from the United Torah Judaism's Degel faction has been chosen as the new mayor-elect in the Holy City. Leon won the vote with a slim 2% majority over opponent Ofer Berkovich after internal strife between competing Haredi parties led many to vote against Leon out of spite. Conflict between the UTJ parties' Degel and Aguda factions has been brewing for a long time now, with the two arguing over representation within the Knesset. Because of supposed population differences, seats in the Knesset have been split 60-40 favoring Aguda. But Degel has argued that their numbers are at least that of Aguda's, eventually leading negotiations between the two to a vote. The result was that Degel indeed won 6 seats to Aguda's 3 in municipal elections. That's why many of Aguda's supporters with UTJ shifted alliances, leaving Leon in the end with just a 5,000 to 6,000 vote margin of victory. The vote was so close, in fact, that Belkovich's team even challenged the final count, though it seems that that challenge has been put to rest. As for the Palestinians living in Jerusalem, they largely boycotted the vote despite making up to nearly a third of the population. Still, despite previous differences and religious leanings, the Haredi Leon has already vowed to represent all of Jerusalem as best as he can.
אני מתכוון בעזרת השם להיות ראש העיר של כל תושבי ירושלים.
Now we just have to wait to see if he puts his money where his mouth is. In other news, the Israeli humanitarian aid organization IsraAid has now been honored for its important disaster relief work in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria left island residents in very difficult conditions. And ILTV correspondent Joy Gavijon is here to tell us more.
Thanks, Aaron. So first of all, I want to remind everyone what IsraAid is. We're talking about an Israeli NGO that responds to natural disasters all over the world. They have worked in 47 countries in different ways and for different causes, but always working with experts on disaster relief. And now, as you said, they received a distinction for their hard work in Puerto Rico. And actually, through IsraAid, Israel was the only foreign country to participate in this conference of New York Latino political leadership organized by the SOMOS organization.
So that's where they received the recognition for their help?
Exactly. The event took place in San Juan this weekend, and attendees from the Israeli consulate in New York went to learn more about Israel's mission. And even the Israeli consul to New York, Danny Dayan, made sure to be there too, and he told the Jerusalem Post that Israel's participation in the conference was highly appreciated and that the response to Israel's mention in the gala was really amazing.
So my question then is this, what were IsraAid's actions exactly? Because the damage that Puerto Rico suffered after the hurricane was tremendous.
Yes.
95% of the island lost electricity, agriculture was destroyed, and many homes were destroyed. The damage is ongoing.
Yeah, sure. So only 7 days after the storm, Israel sent to Puerto Rico a Spanish-speaking team of professionals, mainly doctors and psychosocial support,
Wow.
and experts in water, sanitation, and hygiene. So first, the team, what they made was an evaluation of the needs, and then they followed up by implementing 3 emergency relief programs. First, distribution of water filters, food, and other basic items. Then provision of medical aid and medication, and last, mental health and psychosocial support by delivering post-trauma and self-care workshops. Now, going back to what you said earlier, yes, it's been more than a year and Puerto Rico still hasn't recovered, so that's why IsraAid is still there. And after they finished the emergency relief phase, they started helping the local community to recover long-term. So, as I understand it, they are focused on providing safe drinking water solutions first. And to do that, they partnered with the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico to develop a gravitational water filtration system for the community of Real in the municipality of Patillas.
Incredible. All right, well, congratulations to IsraAid for their work again. Joy, as you said, they work worldwide from Haiti to Puerto Rico and
Exactly.
Greece and Turkey,
Yeah.
And they deserve this honor and much more. Joy, thanks for your report.
Of course.
In lighter news, animal rights activists across the country began celebrating this week after the Knesset advanced a bill that would stop the live transport of livestock for slaughter. Thousands of calves and lambs are imported annually from Europe and Australia in inhumane conditions, only to be fattened further and culled upon arrival. While the new legislation, if passed, would gradually reduce the number of imported livestock to 0 over the next 3 years, shifting the Israeli meat industry completely to homegrown animals and chilled imported cuts. The bill, which was proposed by Likud MK Miki Zohar, passed its first Knesset reading with unanimous support after a ministerial committee approved the bill for initial reading in July. The draft legislation also came about thanks in no small part to tireless efforts of animal rights organizations, politicians, and even religious leaders in the country. Last April, an Australian TV broadcast detailing the horrendous conditions under which livestock was transported to the Middle East was released, sparking massive worldwide outcry. Then in May, dozens of senior rabbis in their communities signed an open letter describing the ongoing practice as, quote, neither the way of the Torah nor of human morality to allow such cruelty to animals, end quote. 2 months later, over 200 attorneys also signed a similar petition addressed to the Supreme Court Deputy President, leading finally to July when the motion was approved for a vote. And the bill reflected the reports as well, saying that animals on transports are subject to extreme overcrowding, get drenched in their and other animal feces, suffer from overheating and transportation-related injuries, and often fall ill or die along the way. So let's just hope that the momentum continues and the second and third readings of this bill pass as quickly as the first. And now for ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh with the top 5 of the week.
Israelis are recognized leaders in a variety of different fields, from high-tech to innovations all the way to humanitarian aid. So today, I'll be giving you ILTV's top 5 list of influential Israelis in their fields. First on the list are the techies. Amnon Shashua and Ziv Aviram are the co-founders of the Israeli sensor technology company Mobileye. The company was acquired by Intel for $15 billion, which has been reported to be the largest deal ever in Israel high-tech. This not only changed the founders' life, which was beyond their wildest dreams, but has also changed the way we drive and so much more. Second on the list is the game changer, Sivan Ya'ari. Sivan is the founder of Innovation Africa, which is a nonprofit organization that brings Israeli solar power, water, and agricultural innovations right to the rural African villages. A video was released titled "The Israeli Heart and Mind Just Transformed the Lives of 1 Million Africans Forever." So, if you're looking for the full story or maybe looking to help out, make sure to check out their website. Third up is the entrepreneur Adam Newman, the co-founder of the most talked about startup in the world, WeWork. This international co-working space company is said to be the most valuable startup in New York City, according to Business Insider. And Newman credits Israel as being special and filled with energy. So hey, I guess we're doing something right now. Fourth on the list is entertainment. And what could we possibly be referring to other than the one and only Israeli Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot? Gadot exploded onto our screens with the movie Wonder Woman and became the 6th most searched person on Google, along with being the top grossing female star of 2017. GQ named her Wonder Woman of the Year last year, and Gadot has since been on almost every notable talk show around, except for mine. There's no way around it. She absolutely changed the game for all aspiring Israeli actors. Last but never least is sports. Omri Caspi, who has been repping Israel for quite some time now, the 29-year-old has made a huge impact playing for the Golden State Warriors NBA team and has been on 6 teams in the last 9 years. He may not be the most famous basketball player around, but he sure is for us Israelis. Caspi reps his lucky number 18, which is also a symbol for chai, or life in Hebrew, so it's safe to say he's inspiring Israeli athletes all over the country. That's all for today's Top 5. Back to you.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. We recently learned of some bigger and badder solar energy cells, so today's word is keren, meaning array. Now this particular keren or ray is more like a keren or ray of light than it is a keren pensia or pension fund. But both ray and fund are translations of keren, and that's not all. The word keren can also be translated as a horn, depending on the context. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how artist Michelangelo depicted the Bible's Moses as having horns in his famous statue. That's also where the stereotype about Jews having horns originates. But really, it was just a terrible, terrible mistranslation. So let that be a lesson to anyone doing their foreign language homework through Google Translate. It's really not a good idea. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be partly cloudy and cool with a low of about 61 or 16 degrees Celsius. Then tomorrow you can expect some morning rain and a drop in temperatures to a high of around 70 or 21 degrees Celsius. Finally on Saturday, temperatures are set to rise slightly again and the skies should be sunny and clear. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.69 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Aaron Porras. Thank you for watching.